All right, so this is a collective message. This is a part 3, so if you would like to go back and see the other parts, you can. We are talking about slavery, but there is a big whole collective message in this. Also about the importance and what the spirituals were used for as song. Okay, so Go Down Moses was said to be one of the spirituals, the songs Harriet Tubman used to announce that she would be leaving soon for the North. Not only did she use spirituals to announce her arrival on a certain plantation, and you can think of this as consciousness too, if you can, really connect to the spirit of Harriet Tubman and others like her, being able to connect yourself on many different planes. Like, what kind of a person that would have to be who can connect that way? That's something special. And to do it in such a way to be hardly noticed and to be so notable at the same time, so resilient and steadfast. And I could probably go on here, but on a certain plantation or farm, but also to instruct others about how to proceed with their northern journeys, and to have to, explain to people with few words, but interaction and feeling and knowingness. So successful was Tubman, and to be in tune with that intuition in using this method, that she was able to return to the South 19 times to aid over 300 slaves in their escape along the Underground Railroad. And never did she lose a slave. She was so skilled at enabling escape that a reward for her capture reached, 40,000, somewhere around there. Much like Harriet Tubman, there was Peg Leg Joe, who also moved from plantation to plantation, teaching slaves spirituals that would assist them in their escape. Unlike Harriet Tubman, Joe did not lead slaves north, but in a different way. He rather taught them the spiritual following the drinking gourd, which contained a number of coded messages. While spirituals clearly hold African roots, they are an art form indigenous to the Americas, having been reconceived and performed in the United States. They were one of the first indigenous musical forms in America, second only to Native American music. And there's a big connection between, those of slavery and the natives, because they are both indigenous people of the earth, and very similar in time and roots and origin, okay? As slaves developed original spirituals to depict their lives, certain characteristic styles emerged. The use of the African 5-tone pentatonic scale was derived from Native American spiritual music. So we get into frequency, we get into creativity, we get into creating authenticity, truer connection. Spirituals make use of call and response. Sorry, I covered up the word. So they used call and response phrases to allow everyone a role in the performance. No one was left out. They all, it's something that everyone wanted to engage in. Everything that someone was happy to engage in, because it gave you that beautiful healing, feeling that you needed in that moment, that connection to that frequency. So they did this, response phrases, call and response phrases, to allow everyone a role in the performance. Stylized moans and groans were interjected into the music whenever the performer or performers felt that they were needed. So everyone, adding extra, you can think of it as like in a shamanistic way. That's what was going on. The use of complex and simultaneous rhythms and ever revised lyrics were also in typical characteristics. So you get into like the meditative states that they're bringing you these lyrics in, so it brings the connection more into the home space, the heart. Because spirituals originated in an oral tradition, spirituals were typically left unrecorded in writing, which had the ironic advantage of sponsoring constantly evolving lyrical and musical features, while some spirituals may have been altered due to faulty memory. Other revisions were quite purposeful. Facilities with speech, cleverness with words, verbal wit, and dramatic oratory were and remain highly admired qualities within the African American community. Well versed with speech and be able to communicate that clearly and effectively in a well-balanced, centered way to bring things together. Seeing things, full spectrum for what it is. Reality versus, non-reality, sanity versus insanity, common sense versus nonsense, whatever you want to think of it. Such a spirit for revision also enhanced the flexibility needed to update coded information. They were able to do this very brilliantly, and that's something I feel needs to be more noted, just how clever and ingenuitive with the mind and working to create such change and such adversity, to be able to plan that out with the wit and intelligence, to outsmart the ones who think that, they own it all. Very, very brave indeed. The genres from form nicely activates its function. So the genres, really activate its function in its connectiveness to what it is, framing identity, formation, and mobilization of resources we're getting into. By deploying spirituals for covert communication, slaves were yet more able to unite under common cause. Throughout their history, blacks used spirituals in their daily lives. Once they reached the United States, slaves had to find a way to transcend their African cultural differences and unite as one people with what they have and, what they had put right in front of them, what they had to deal with. Spirituals became a collaborative and cohesive medium. In the collective, singing spirituals was a way to share grief and to bolster one another through times of stress and sorrow. Next part.